Chapter 15. Vanya woke up to find Katyusha gone from their bed. He sat upright and put on a pair of pants before going to search for her. He checked the study, her old room, and the hallway before walking in on her in the bathroom hunched over the toilet. "Katyusha, are you okay?" he asked her. Yeah, I'm fine. Just feeling a little sick." "Again?" he asked. "It's probably just the rations they've been serving us. Maybe I'll eat some of the canned goods instead." I'm gonna call the doctor, okay?" said Vanya, feeling uneasy about her state. She'd been sick for a few days in a row now. No, I'm fine," argued Katyusha. "Look, it's just good to get another opinion. If it's just the food, I'll take your rations and you can have the dried foods, okay?" said Vanya to Katyusha. "Oh, okay," she said to Vanya as he left her to go call for one of the town's doctors. "Hello? Dr. Fyodor? My wife's been having some troubles as of late." "Well, she's been having nausea mostly in the mornings, but she also complains of cramps throughout the day. She thinks it might be the food rations. Do you think you can come by?" "Great. Thank you," said Vanya as he hung up the receiver. "Is he coming by?" asked Katyusha. "Yes, he said he'll be by in an hour," replied Vanya. Vanya could see the worry on Katyusha's face, and he leaned down to pick her up so they were at eye level. "Everything's going to be all right, my love," he said, giving Katyusha a kiss. Katyusha rested her hands on Vanya's shoulders. He took her left hand in his and kissed it, and looked at the ring that he had given her on their wedding. "It's beautiful," she whispered to him. "The ring." "It was Virni's," said Vanya as he kissed her. "And now it's yours." The two sat together as a knock at the door let them know that Dr. Fyodor had arrived. Vanya rose from his seat and let the doctor in, who followed him into the foyer. "Good day," said the doctor as he set down his bag. "What seems to be the matter, Katyusha?" "It's my gut. I've been having cramps for the last few weeks, and I feel nauseated a lot of the time." Dr. Fyodor nodded. "And do you find yourself tired often?" "Yes, but I've always had an issue with that due to my stature," replied Katyusha. "Any changes in mood?" asked the doctor. "Well, sure, but it's probably to do with the coming war and the rising tensions. We've all been a little more on edge as of late," replied Vanya. Dr. Fyodor looked at Vanya and asked, "Have you noticed any changes in Katyusha's breasts? Perhaps any signs that they've become larger, more tender? Do you feel any pain in them, Katyusha?" The doctor looked from Vanya to Katyusha as he spoke to them. Why do you ask?" asked Vanya, unsure of why the doctor would ask such questions, until he realized he'd been through this before with Virni. It was the little suspicion in him that had led him to call the doctor, the little voice in him telling him Katyusha's being for the last few days was something to take note of. But he didn't want this to come true. At least, not at a time like this. "I have felt a bit more pain in them as of late, and they do feel a bit heavier than usual," replied Katyusha, covering her chest as she spoke. "Dr. Fyodor, are you suggesting my wife might be pregnant?" asked Vanya. "Have you not had sex with her?" asked the doctor, cocking his head. "It's nothing to be ashamed of. When you brought up nausea and cramps so soon after you two got married, it isn't really much of a hard case to crack. It happens all the time for newlyweds. In all the excitement of things, it's really not so unheard of," reassured the doctor. Vanya placed his hand on his head and turned away from them. "So I'm pregnant?" asked Katyusha. "Quite likely. I don't have any tests in supply. The war efforts have shifted medical production to focus more on trauma kits and critical medicine. But I may be able to place an order for a few, where I can," began Dr. Fyodor. "That'll be fine, doctor," replied Vanya. Katyusha looked weirdly at Vanya, who stood at the edge of the room, and did not look at her or the doctor as they moved to the front door of the house. "Dr. Fyodor, I really may be pregnant? She asked him again. Yes, it's quite likely. I haven't heard of anybody else complaining about the rations. Aside from their taste, of course. And as I stated, it is quite common for this to happen shortly after marriage, replied Dr. Fyodor. What can be done? I mean, do I need any more tests, or... It's quite early for all that. Judging by your symptoms and the date of your marriage, if that's anything to go by, then I'd say that you're only a few weeks pregnant. Viability within the first few months isn't always the highest, especially right now. I'm afraid there's not much we can do for you in terms of care, but... However, assuming that you do make it past 3 months of pregnancy, we can start looking into routes of care for you, said the doctor as he stood with Katyusha. I'll also say this. If this is something that you want to ensure happens, you may want to consider moving into the city. Generally speaking, it is much safer there, and there's less risk of conflicts like the one that happened a few months ago. I can take care of myself, shouted Katyusha. I've done it before. The doctor merely looked at her and stated, I'm sure that you can, but the life inside of you cannot. Just keep that in mind if you really want to see this through. Katyusha handed the doctor his money and returned to the foyer to find Vanya sitting down on the couch, staring at the floor. Well, said Katyusha, raising her arms. We're pregnant. Vanya looked at her with a mixed face. Are you excited? I don't know, replied Vanya. Katyusha returned to his side and held his arm by her. I'm kind of excited, to be honest. And scared. And well, I guess I don't really know either, said Katyusha. But as long as you're with me, I don't need to know anything other than the fact that you love me to make it through all this. I love you too, Katyusha.